Welcome to Not the Code, where we explore the human side of software development. Today we're diving into something that touches every tech team, but rarely gets discussed openly. How human connection and simple gestures like smiling can transform conflict into collaboration. This story began as a piece for an internal company newsletter back in October 2023. What started as a casual writing exercise unexpectedly became the foundation for everything we discuss here at Not the Code. Sometimes our most meaningful insights emerge from the most ordinary moments. Here's something interesting. Every October, two observances appear on the calendar just days apart: World Smile Day and World Conflict Resolution Day. On the surface, they seem completely unrelated. One celebrates happiness, the other addresses disagreement. But when you work in tech long enough, their proximity starts to feel less like coincidence and more like cosmic wisdom. Because here's the truth that every developer, product manager, and designer knows, but rarely admits. Most of the friction we experience in tech projects has absolutely nothing to do with code. It's not the broken API that derails your sprint. It's not the missed semicolon that destroys team morale. It's miscommunication between teams, misaligned expectations, a complete lack of psychological safety. In other words, human conflict. My grandmother had a saying that stuck with me through decades of software development. It can roughly translate to English as, "It takes two to tango." It's a reminder that conflict is never a solo performance. It requires at least two people, both convinced they're right, both unwilling to yield. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this dynamic. A few years ago, I was part of one of the largest projects I had ever tackled. Our development team spent weeks building a feature based on what the product team thought they wanted. The specifications seemed crystal clear until demo day arrived. What followed was 2 hours of increasingly tense conversation, each side defending their interpretation of requirements that, in hindsight, were ambiguous from the very beginning. Developers pulling up Slack messages as evidence, product managers pointing to wireframes that could be interpreted multiple ways. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. But then, something remarkable happened. Our tech lead, a brilliant woman who'd been quiet through most of the heated discussion, took a deep breath, smiled genuinely, and asked the simplest possible question. Can we take a step back and talk about what problem we're actually trying to solve for users? That single question, accompanied by that genuine smile, reframed the entire conversation. Suddenly, we weren't defending positions, we were solving problems together. The feature shipped 2 weeks later, completely different from both original visions, but infinitely better for the people who would actually use it. This brings us to something Dale Carnegie wrote about decades ago, but that remains as relevant today as it was then: the disarming power of a genuine smile. Notice I said genuine. This isn't about manipulation or strategy. A real smile is a biological signal that says, I see you as a human being, not just an obstacle to overcome. Intense retrospectives, difficult feedback sessions, or cross-team standoffs, a smile can completely shift the energy in the room. It invites conversation instead of confrontation. It reminds everyone that we're on the same side. But why is this so powerful? When we feel threatened, even intellectually threatened, our brain's executive function takes a back seat to more primitive responses. We enter fight or flight mode, which in modern workplaces often manifests as digging in harder on our position or viewing colleagues as adversaries rather than collaborators. Here are 4 specific techniques that can transform how your team handles conflict. First, separate problems from people. Focus your criticism on ideas or circumstances, never on personalities or intentions. Instead of saying, your code is creating performance issues, try, the login flow has some performance bottlenecks we need to address. Second, use the yes and technique from improv theater. Build on others' ideas rather than contradicting with but statements. This completely changes the dynamic of brainstorming sessions. Third, document understanding. After any significant discussion, have each person summarize their understanding of what was decided. This catches misalignments early before weeks of development head in the wrong direction. Fourth, create conflict resolution frameworks before you need them. Establish team protocols for addressing disagreements when emotions aren't running high. In software development, we spend our days immersed in complexity. Product roadmaps, sprint velocity, user feedback, technical debt. But the most intricate system of all isn't our code base, it's our team. The human system of different people with different backgrounds, communication styles, and perspectives is orders of magnitude more complex than any distributed architecture will ever build. And here's what's fascinating. We don't usually document these human systems. There's no API documentation for how to work with your designer when they're feeling protective of their work. No stack trace when communication breaks down between front-end and back-end teams. Research has consistently shown that interpersonal factors significantly impact team performance. Psychological safety was found to be the #1 predictor of team success. So, what can you do with this insight? Start by explicitly acknowledging that the human side isn't soft stuff, it's core infrastructure. Spend as much time designing your collaboration patterns as you do your technical architecture. Here's something you can try this week. Next time you feel tension rising in a technical discussion, pause and ask yourself, what would happen if I genuinely smiled right now? Not as a manipulation tactic, but as a reconnection to the human on the other side of the table or screen. You might be surprised how it shifts both your perspective and theirs. That pairing of World Smile Day and World Conflict Resolution Day offers perfect reflection for those of us in tech. One day reminds us to connect with joy. The other challenges us to bridge divides. Together, they highlight a simple but often overlooked truth. Building better software starts with building better relationships. Smiles won't solve every disagreement, but they can disarm ego, diffuse tension, and open doors to understanding. In an industry that moves fast and often prizes correctness over connection, it's worth remembering that collaboration isn't about being right, it's about getting it right together. So whether you're a developer deep in a sprint, a product manager caught between shifting priorities, or a designer navigating feedback loops, take a moment today, smile, ask the extra question, extend the olive branch. Your code and your colleagues will thank you. Because when we remember the humans behind the code, we all build better things together. You've been listening to Not the Code, where we explore the human side of software development. You can find more insights and practical advice at notthecode.com. We'll be back soon with more conversations about building better together.